Hello and welcome to Real-Ationship Talk, the podcast hosted by yours truly, Teresha Young, relationship master coach, where we have open, non-judgmental, heart-to-heart conversations about love, self-love, self-care, dating, and relationships. And for this week's episode, we are being joined by Anke Lommen. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Oh, myself too, because we are going to be delving into communication, body language, all of the juicy stuff that I know people want to hear. So before we actually delve into it, let's share a little bit more about who you are and what you do. Anke is a versatile and passionate professional who approaches understanding the human being in a unique and profound way. She sees the person and teaches others to view the individual from a holistic perspective by recognizing the meaning behind body language, external characteristics, and word choice. This information helps you to see what lies beneath the surface of individuals, such as how they truly feel, what they think, what their personality is, and what motivates them. As a senior communication trainer and leadership coach, Anke has distinguished herself by helping others apply these profound insights in their professional and personal relationships. Her approach goes beyond superficial communication. She believes in the importance of hearing what is not being said, as the wise Peter Drucker once noted. Anke understands that communication is more than just words. It encompasses the rich world of nonverbal signals and unconscious decision making. And in 2019, she developed the face, body, and mind method, which is a holistic system that combines body language, appearance, language, and mindset to gain a deep understanding of others. I would love to know more about that. With this method, she can not only decipher the surface of emotions, but also grasp the core of personality traits and motivations. Anke is dedicated to sharing this valuable knowledge and helping others enhance their ability to understand people from a holistic perspective. Wow. Wow. I'm just doing my hand in a circle right now because I can, when I would say it's there, the holistic perspective, communication, it is quite a broad subject in terms of when you think about communication. However, the way that you have broken it down there doesn't make it feel so broad. It makes it feel very specific. So would you please, you're so welcome. Would you kindly share with us a bit more about your journey and what led you to doing what you do now?
Well, I would love to. I think it's a long time ago. So, like, this story is, I'm going to only dive into the highlights, or else we're going to be here for 3 hours and only listening to my life story. But I think that one of the biggest trigger points was when I was, for my first year, a teacher. So it feels almost like a decade ago, like in another lifetime. I was a teacher for kids with special needs and behavior problems. And my first year, well, didn't really went that well. So there were chairs going through the classroom. Kids just, and I think that made me feel heartbroken. The behavior that they showed was mainly because they didn't feel safe enough, or maybe even seen enough. So one of those moments, I went to a colleague, and she was a teacher, and she still is, by the way. She's amazing. She teach the class, and there was this warm and safe and gentle environment. And of course, these kids have their problems, so it's not that nothing ever happened in her class, but she just managed this class in such a beautiful way. And then when I asked her, because I wanted to learn that too, she just said, I don't really know. I just see it. I see when I have to interfere, or when I have to handle something. It's just experience. You're going to learn it too. And that was kind of a big trigger, because I was thinking, I don't want to wait for more than 15 years to create a safe haven for these kids. So that was the biggest trigger. So she could see patterns that I couldn't. And I think maybe even in my first year as a teacher, but at least it was at second, there was this big sign of how to read people. And I was like, wow, so somebody has thought about how you can read people and maybe see what she does. So I went into this course, and this was face reading. So that was something else than body language. Face reading, you will look at people's structure, bone structure, the clothes that they're wearing, the way they move, but you look more. Chinese face reading is one of the things I'm a master in. And they even look at health. You could read in a face. So I started with that course, and that was only one day in the place where I live, and I was just hooked. I was like, wow, is this possible? Also very skeptical, by the way. Is this really true?
Yeah.
So I started with that course, and then enrolled a lot of courses around the world about face reading, but also discovered in that journey that only reading faces based on face reading is it's amazing when you coach people, but it's also when you talk to people not the best tool, because people have feelings. So even in this conversation, we switch while we're talking. We constantly switch in our feelings and our thoughts. And so I discovered the love for body language and added that to my skills. So I studied body language, became a body language teacher, and eventually in that path, I also did NLP, that's neuro-linguistic programming. Tony Robbins is a big name in that field. And then I thought, yes, now I got it. Now I got the
Combo.
face, I got the body, and I got the mind.
Yes.
And there are a lot of people who teach body language and even face reading and communication, I think, all over the world. I think the difference is that I really want to use it to help people impact others, and to influence them positively. So it's not to gain your own because if you got the skills that I have, you could use it also for things that mainly gain things for you.
Yes.
So that's kind of so that's why I work a lot with teachers, coaches, even sales. But then these salespeople, they want to sell from a place of connection. So, but I think that's kind of what my journey was. And eventually I started with one training because I thought, this is cool, I can teach other people this. And then going further, quitting my job because I was just almost to a burnout of having too much work, and had to make a choice between being a teacher for a class or being a teacher for teachers and businesses. And then I loved the last part because it's a little bit heal the world feeling. And I want to make a difference in this world. And then
I had Michael Jackson come to my head when you were saying.
Yeah. So I really want to make a difference in this world. So if I can teach the teachers and give them the tools, and teach people who work with, especially with people who are more fragile, I can make an impact through them by helping them to look further than the length of your nose.
Yeah.
That's a Dutch expression, by the way. I don't know if you guys got that one.
I was going to ask you more about that, because now that the body language screen, I was thinking, if somebody touches your nose, what touches their nose? Could that be a sign of something? Who knows?
Like what you see in body language, the main thing that you can see is relaxation and tension. And when we start touching our nose, it is a sign of tension. A lot of the times it is that we want to be like a kid would do this. but we have learned that that's not really smart in a conversation. So we do things like this or this. So
Yeah.
you are withdrawing some information that you don't want to share at that moment. It, by the way, doesn't mean you're lying. Context is key, because a
Okay.
lot of people say if somebody touches their
Yes.
nose, they're lying. No, that's not true. You only see tension, and you could could show tension when you are afraid that somebody thinks you're lying. So yeah, that's
Thank you for that share. And it's really, really interesting the way that you started on your profession and your road from being in an environment where there's children with special educational needs or special needs, and how that kind of inspired you then to talk to the other teacher and to find out more about that. And that really resonates with me because my daughter has special educational needs and special needs herself. So I know so much more about communication because she's currently pre-verbal too. So we don't use words. Well, I express words, but she doesn't repeat the words back to me. So it's all the other cues that I pick up on in terms of the non-verbal cues that are so powerful when it comes to the relationship that I have with her. When you were talking there, were you actually describing your face, body, mind method, or is that completely different to what you were sharing there?
Well, I think eventually with all what I learned, I cherry picked
Uh-huh.
the best things out of it, and I use that in one method. Yeah, so that's where body language, but also language patterns, the face reading, micro expression. Well, the most, I think, like there are so many amazing tools to read people, but everybody is on their own island.
Yeah.
One of the things I love is synergy, to work with other people who know or have skills that I don't, because I think that's kind of my holistic need, maybe even, is to combine these things, because being a body language expert or even a face reader, the biggest challenge is not to get judgmental, to judge the thing you see. There are always more factors in play to understand somebody better, or to even help them in expressing themselves.
Yeah. When I was reading your bio and the work that you do, you mentioned superficial communication. Now, I'm very curious, what does superficial communication look like?
To me, I can give you a metaphor. Is that
Okay.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Like our brain, you can divide our brain in conscious and unconscious part. Our unconscious brain determines, well, scientific, like neuroscientists, sorry for my English sometimes, are not all on the same page. So some say 90%, and other ones say 97%. But
Ah,
still, that's like,
still high.
so between the 90 and 97%, your unconscious brain decides how you will react, or even what choices you make. So that's like major.
Yeah.
And I like to use the metaphor of a big, huge elephant. And your conscious brain is the driver on the elephant. It
Okay.
sits on the elephant, it has the reins, and it tries to steer it around the I don't know, the woods. And then the driver, they think they have a lot of control. They think they know what's happening, but then when the elephant sees a mouse and plans to run away, the driver is just sitting there and just has to sit it out. The elephant is where that's unconscious brain. If you like knowledge, Google Kahneman. He is the master in this subject. So the elephant has all the emotions, memories, but also all the reflexes, intuition, instincts. But what we do in daily life is that when we meet somebody, to me, superficial communication is when we would meet, like the cool thing is, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But my examples is that when we meet, the first thing we like, the drivers don't meet, the elephants meet. We start sniffing at each other instead of the drivers, but the drivers think they are gonna manage the contact and they are gonna talk. But if the drivers would only talk to each other, to me that's superficial, because then you are only talking about what is literally said, or what is you judge people for how they react, or you judge people for, well, whatever. But if you would go a layer deeper to being less superficial, you will not only listen to the driver, but you also will take notes what's happening with the elephant. What does the person really feel or really mean with what they say, what they're not saying? So to me, maybe this is a little, I hope it clarifies it, but to me, superficial communication is not tapping into somebody else's elephant. So that means not tapping into somebody's motives or emotions, or it's just that it's very flat. Does that make sense?
That makes absolute sense to me. And I'm a very visual person too. So when you were talking, that I was literally seeing that and know how that could, because when you think about the grand size of an elephant as well, there's a lot that you could tap into that you could potentially miss if you're just the driver on that elephant. There's so much to unpack of that elephant too. How do we unpack it? Like, how do we connect with the elephant so that we can have those effective communications?
Well, I think the first thing you have to do is to recognize that the elephants are there. And that's sounds so easy, but in communication, it's not. And a lot of the times we acknowledge our own elephant, but then we forget to acknowledge the elephant of somebody else. So we feel all these things and we judge the driver for not driving their elephant equippedly, that they are bad drivers.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that they are bad drivers. So I think it starts with one of the things you can use is body language, but also use listening to what somebody really says and not what they literally say. But body language is a main factor in it, because if you're talking to a driver and they say, I am okay, but then if you would look at their elephant and it's shaking, sitting on his bum and just doesn't know where to go, then you can say, okay, yeah, you're okay, or just ask a few questions more because you see his elephant or her elephant shivering. So that's yeah.
I love that. For anybody who's kind of like jumping in and on the podcast and thinking,
what?
Elephants, mice? What's going on? There is contact. Make sure that you listen to it. There is definitely context here. So make sure that you are listening to the full episode, because that's a really helpful share. And I'm finding that very helpful in the way that you are describing it. So you've spoken about body language. If that's one of the ways that we can tap into, because when we can actually develop and nurture the body language, I would say that can foster healthier connections and relationships with people. So what would you say are some of the common red flags and green flags, I would say, when it comes to body language?
Well, I did a big research for you today. Tapping into dating.
Yes.
One of the things, before we do that, I would like to address is, when you date, there are several types you can date. So, and in body language, that's important, because if you would date an introvert or an extrovert, that would make a difference in how they show their body language. So first of that disclaimer, there's a little disclaimer, because an extrovert, for example, you can recognize them because they talk a lot with their hands, they're very expressive, they touch you, they smile at you, what some people even can mistake as flirting, but then they do it with, so it's important to see if somebody does that with everybody or only you.
The pattern.
Yes, the pattern. And an introvert would downsize the whole body language story. So it's still there, but they will be much more less obvious. For a lot of people, it's easier to date an extrovert in sense of I understand your signals than when you would date an introvert. If you would consider creating a relationship, a lot of the times it's kind of it's not like a rule, but you see in a lot of relationships, you see somebody who's a little bit more introverted and the other one is a little bit more extroverted. So it's kind of also opposite attract. But so for the body language, what I'm going to explain, keep in mind that an extrovert will show much more of it than an introvert.
Okay. Yeah. Excited to hear.
Oh yeah, you are.
You got
Me too. Exciting to share.
Let's do this.
I got a whole list. Well, one of the maybe even scary things is that when we meet each other, like let's talk about unconscious brain. When our elephants meet each other, 0.2 seconds, they already have a judgment or an image of the other person, like 0.2 seconds. Wow. Yeah, I know.
I thought it was like 3 seconds, but it's even less than that.
Yes. Well, and there are also people who say 7 seconds, but then it's just goes really, really fast. And that's because our elephant, our unconscious brain, can do about 800 pages of information, and our driver can only do like 12 words in the same time. So the way you can work with your information is very the speed. It's just the difference is huge. So when you meet,
no, I was just going to ask you: is that because the elephant, but in terms, you have to make sure you've got the context here. The elephant, the subconscious mind, is it working that fast to keep us safe? Is that why it analyzes things so quickly?
Yes. And that's why all the emotions, but also memories are in the elephant. You store them up through all your life. And so when you meet somebody new, in every situation, it assesses what is important and what is not. And then the most important things it shares with the driver. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Brilliant. That's great.
So if you want to start on a date, I think what would be interesting is those first seconds. Be very conscious about how you feel, because your elephant just already has made an assessment. There has to be you have to be careful also with this, because your elephant is not always right. So sometimes when we call this bias, I don't know if you know what a bias is.
Bias,
yeah. So sometimes it will judge based on memories what do not apply on the dating event. But what you could do is, what I love is, especially when you go on a first date. I don't know how you do it in England, but in the Netherlands, you give each other a hand to say your name and get to know each other. Is that something you do too?
Not so much. Explain a bit more about that. So just is that when you're face to face in person, you would introduce yourself? Is that what you're referring to? Well, with the people that I meet just generally in life, that would be an introduction, like when you're networking. Hi, I'm Teresha. Is that what you're referring to in terms of? No.
I literally mean this handshake.
Richie, no. I think it depends upon the environment. If that is just a typical cultural thing, I wouldn't say it's a typical cultural thing here. From my experience, I am very much open to people coming in and sharing their thoughts on it. But sometimes it might be an embrace. Particularly when we had COVID, it wasn't too much. It was more of a hi, how you doing? So I think it's all about the environment, really.
Yeah. Well, I think it all almost goes to a hug too, or even kisses. But if you will meet somebody, like touch is one of the most important things in dating.
Yeah.
We even know that if we touch people, people will have higher feelings of sympathy for us. There was this investigation that a lady at a shop where you pay your money. So they did the first few people, she gave the money back without touching, and then the second round she gave the people the money back with touching consciously their hands.
Yeah.
And the second group rated her up more sympathetic than the first group. So touch is very important. But when you go to the first impression and you would
Yes.
meet somebody with a handshake, well, if that's something you do in your culture, we do that. We give a handshake and we say, "Hi, I'm Anke."
We tend to, I
But
mean, I would say that we tend to do that. We have to read the room and the person.
oh,
And I also heard about a handshake that it's important to do the web to web in terms of that, like
yeah,
it's,
you have to.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Hmm. But if you go on a first date, green flags. If somebody gives a good handshake,
Green
that's a
flag.
big green flag. Because if they give us like, especially when you would be a man and you shake, uh, uh, how do you call it? I call it a booger cloth. I think it's so.
Like a wet flannel,
Yeah, yeah.
like a wet flannel handshake.
Yeah, but the handshake, you can get a lot of information out of that. But even
Mm.
a hug, how do they hug you? Do they
Yes.
do it very fast, very briefly? If they take time to hug you or give the hug that you like, that's a green flag. That's a good
Mm.
sign.
Okay.
Even that's very basic.
Okay. So just from, I guess, my knowledge, it might be more of a hug that somebody would receive when you're meeting someone for the first time. So they probably had a little bit of communication on a dating app or whatever it is. And the first date, they probably could have known each other a little bit by written communication or telephone call, whatever it is. They would probably go in for a hug. So it's really important that you assess the quality of that hug.
Yeah, be mindful about what happens and what happens in your body. And it
Ah,
also brings us and if you like, I'm gonna mix up every tip I got now, so it's gonna be chaos. Sorry. But if you are hugging, always also be very conscious about smell, because we tend to choose people more based on smell, and that's also body language. Body
mm,
language, it's not only how we move, it's also your voice, it's also how you dress,
mm,
but also how you smell, how your voice sounds, the depth of it. So
okay.
if you like, there was I found it because I was preparing for this podcast,
Yeah.
especially about relationships, and I knew the thing about smell, but I found there is a dating site, and then you have to wear for 3 days the same T-shirt. Send it in. Yeah, I thought this is so funny. Send it in, and they cut it up in little pieces and mail it to several people who are single too. And you choose your date based on the smell. How
Lovely.
funny is that? Yeah,
Lovely. Let's do this in winter and not summertime, okay? Might get a different odor.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, the
Wow.
idea behind it is that we you smell the pheromones, and we select people based on the pheromones. If they have a healthy complementary genetic makeup for us, we tend to choose them, because then we go very back to the old days from being dragged to the caves. But it creates healthy kids when you have somebody who gets that.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you do that on smell.
that's all
Yeah.
making sense because when you think about a newborn and they talk about the smell when they smell the
Oh,
mum,
oh, yeah.
and it's really important. I remember when my daughter was born, I was like, I'm not wearing any perfume, I'm not wearing anything scented because I really want her to smell me, and to and to connect with the raw me. So I totally get that, in terms of the smell. Could there be the flip side to that? Because we know that when it comes to women, our oxytocin levels can increase quite significantly. And I was just wondering, for example, if you smell somebody and you really fall in love with that smell at a biological level, could you then just really fall for that person without actually having enough assessment as to whether it's lust or love? Like you could just really become like really infatuated with that person. Could there be that angle?
Well, I think the smell is more about lust than love.
Mm,
Love takes a little bit more than smell. So it's more about the biochemical
yeah.
things that happen in your body. And the thing is that we wear perfumes.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
we masquerade our own body smell.
Mm.
So it's really hard to sniff your partner out of the date. But
I'm
but
just thinking about what you would say.
yeah.
Can I sniff your armpit before we move forward?
Yes, preferable within 7 minutes.
Yeah, before we exactly. I just need to make a judgment call. No, you are not the one. Thank you.
Yeah, but it is a red flag. So we're kind of now going to to the red. But if you do not like the smell of somebody, it's not that that person is not nice or friendly, or it's just the chance that you will fall in love with that person or want to have sex with them
Yeah.
is kind of very slim. It's also interesting for yourself if you go on a date. How do I smell? It's yeah.
Exactly. Everything that you're sharing here is also a two-way thing. Like, for
Mm.
example, you might be evaluating somebody, but somebody else is doing that same evaluation process too. So, how do I smell? And just for clarity, that's at a very natural level. We're not talking about fragrance here. We're just talking about you freshened up or something along those lines.
Mm. Yeah,
Okay.
and be you. Like it would be very confusing if you use a smell for the dates and then just totally change the next one. Yeah.
Yeah, I only use the expensive perfume for the first date. The second date is not the
Yes,
expensive.
yes. Now you're in now.
Yeah, you're in now. I'll go back to basics.
Yeah.
Okay, that's love that share. What else have you got
Um,
for us?
yeah, well, one of the things I actually like in green flags, there are a lot of very obvious green flags, smiling, nodding, all these things. But I think the biggest um, green flag is when you how you can recognize that somebody likes you is when they light up. You can see it when somebody lights up. You can see it in the eyes. They like lighting up literally means in body language up.
Oh.
Everything goes up. Your corners of your eyes, sorry, mouth, your body. Like if you go up and open.
Mm.
That's when somebody lights up. And what I truly love with that is the eyebrow flash. Like that's this one.
How does that work? Oh, okay. Up, up, up.
Oh.
Mm.
No,
And to do it with reason. You don't want to be doing that all throughout the date, though.
no, you don't.
Yeah,
But
but
it's
that's a natural
interesting that,
expression, isn't it? It's a natural thing.
yeah, but we a lot of the times we look at the eyes and then forget to look at the
Yeah.
eyebrows. And the eyebrows, we do not have that, like, when they go up. If I talk with somebody and they do this while I'm talking, while listening, I know they are interested. It is like, oh, I like this.
Yeah.
Oh, it's kind of an eyebrow smile.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I like that. Because it's much easier to see, it's more visible because you hear things about people's pupils dilating and
Yeah.
all of those kind
Yeah.
of things. That's really hard to assess though, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're really
Yeah.
staring somebody out. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
something like the eyebrows is much more visible for you to be able to take that cue and say, oh, I piqued their interest or curiosity there.
Yeah. And then with the pupils,
Mm.
that's totally true. But then just trust your elephant because your elephant will notice this change even without your driver being there very consciously about. But the eyebrows, like you can use that very easily. It's a very easy big tell. You only have to be careful with because they also can do it when they are surprised. For example, it's like then, but then it's more Like
There's more. Yeah, there's
yeah.
more on that face.
Yeah. So there you have all like body language. The biggest thing in body language is seeing everything in context.
Mm.
And the most interesting things, yes, sorry, is when somebody changes in their body language. Like if somebody, for example, a lot of people say when somebody is with their arms crossed, you are a very closed off person.
Yeah.
For example, for an introvert, yes, they are maybe a little bit closed off, so they protect themselves to not get overloaded, maybe by a lot of the people in a cafe or whatever. So there are many things who come in this equation. So if somebody would stand like this all the time, it gets interesting when they change.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
that's the same in a date. So if you are in a date and you're talking with somebody, it gets interesting. And there's a shift within when they change their body language. That's the moment that's something happening. So the eyebrow flash.
Eyebrow, yes, exactly. And
Yeah.
no manipulation here. Do not be going and drawing your eyebrows on so they're permanently up. There's permanently surprised or permanently uplifted. It really is. And that's great because this is also self-awareness for the person. Like, are we being closed in terms of our body language too? How are we positioning ourselves when we are out on the date? So that is a great cue. So that it's self-awareness and also people know what they're looking for in another person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would never, and by the way, I would never advise to go into a conversation and sit like this. If you feel like you have to protect yourself for all the energy, choose your dating scene wisely. Choose a spot where you do not get overwhelmed with all the other stuff what's going on. I would advise that. I would not advise to sit like that. It helps, but I wouldn't advise it.
Yeah. And for the people listening on audio, Anke was just folding her arms. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, we got this on video and we also got it on audio. So Anke was just folding her arms really crossed so that he wouldn't be advising you to go into the dating experience like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One other green flag is to do or to receive is leaning in. If somebody is talking with you and they tend to go to you, again with a friendly face, because if we get really angry, we can lean into. But I mean, like we're talking about green flags. Yes. So leaning in is just, and it's a little shift. In my teachings, a lot of the times I let people feel the difference of just standing on your feet very, very stillly, and then just tend a little bit more pressure on the foreside of your feet, on your toes, and then you will feel the energy shifting. And if you just stand straight and then put more the weight on the back of your heels, you feel that you will withdraw. And it's just a little movement. But if you tend to have a little more leaning in, the other person will feel more heard, more seen, engaged. And that works again. Everything in body language works two ways. So that's So I would definitely advise that as a green flag, and it's maybe a basic one, but
if they're leaning in, you do the same. You mirror, do you?
Yes, yes. Okay. That would be. If you like them, I would. Yes.
if disclaimer, if you like them, lean into. If not, give the opposite body language.
Yeah. Well, you can still be polite, but
of course,
how more you're gonna mirror them, how more they feel that there is this connection. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So mirroring is a big part of, I think, of dating, life, communication. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I also like is that I hope I can explain this in words without the image, but it is when we talk to people, there are 3 zones we use to look at. So you got this zone, it's from your nose, it starts at the bottom of your nose and goes in a triangle. Oh, sorry, it goes in a triangle up to your eyes. It's more the eye zone. We call it the eye zone. Then there is the zone of the forehead and the eyes.
Okay.
And then there is the eyes and then just to your toes. That's a zone
Okay.
like this, like
Yeah.
all the way down. If we are flirting with people, we tend, what we do is we look at the eyes, but also look at the mouth while they're talking. It's not that you're going to focus on it like you're going to go into a box fight.
Yeah.
But while talking, your eyes will go flipping subtle
Yeah.
from the eyes to the mouth. If we meet somebody for the first time and we don't feel we call this this part from the eyes till the mouth, we call that the friend zone. The eyes and the forehead, looking at the eyes and the forehead, is more a business zone. I don't know
Okay.
you yet. Yes, and then the eyes till your toes, but a lot of the times till the top of your, how do you call this in English?
Chest.
Chest. Yes, from
Yeah.
the top to the chest, that's your intimate zone.
Ooh.
So if you talk with people, yeah, this is a really good life hack, this one. So
Oh.
if you talk with people and they are starting to look in your eyes, but also sometimes look at your mouth, you know they like you.
Ooh.
It could be friendly. It could be a starting of a butterflies in your stomach. But even with friends, we do this. So we look at the eyes and the
Yeah.
mouth. If you would look from the eyes and only the forehead, somebody is not making the connection. I
Sure.
think that this is a. It's not that they're not friendly,
Yeah.
but they do not make the elephants are not the trunks are not connecting at that
Mm.
moment.
Yeah.
If you go all the way down, they are sexual in a lot of the times checking you out. Yeah.
Wow. I love that visual. And this is all unconscious. This is just what people are tending to do. Okay, brilliant. I think that that is such a good. So you could probably see if you're being friend zoned
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
the
Oh
way.
no.
You can be like, okay, we're like 10 minutes in, I'm already friend zoned. So I would though talking about that, it may take some time to move from different zones. So for example, let's say you're on a date with somebody and it's 2 hours that you're on that date. I guess it will be a case of gradually maybe see because you might start off in that area, for example, and then you might see it change. Is that possible?
Yeah, a lot of the times we start at the business zone, the
Yeah.
upper side of the face, and then go downwards. Yeah, if you like a person. Some people do that really fast because, again, 0.2 seconds we make our first impression. And, oh, well, let's say 7 seconds. So that 7 seconds we make our first impression, but we also decide in the 7 seconds if we think we could mate with a person or not. So it could go really fast, but to women in general, I think this could be a red flag because
Mm.
if somebody's talking to you and keeps going to the downsides of your
Yeah.
body while talking, they are not really listening to you. So you have to be mindful in their body language if they also address your eyes.
Yeah.
It's okay if they think you are attractive or sexy. I think that's even very beautiful in a relationship. But be mindful about when it's nice or when it starts to be a red flag.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay. And that probably leads into what you were referring to before with the word choice too. So even though they might be showing and displaying those things, it's also what you're saying in terms of maybe listen to what they're saying. And are they truly hearing you? Are they responding? Or so
Mm-hmm.
there's a bigger picture, isn't there? It's all about context, as you said.
Yes, it is, and it's also that it's very important that the body does not lie. Our words do, and then there's a big discussion about what do lies mean. But when you say something else than what you feel, your body will not lie. It will reveal how the person feels. So if they will say, I don't know, I am very attractive to you, and they never show any body language to
Mm,
it, it's really hard to believe them. It's
yeah.
it's It's not like that everybody who says that is not being truthful, but if I would be on a date and somebody would say it and would only look at this piece of my head, I would use that information, like the business side of your head, I would use that information to ask other questions and see how they react. So I think body language, the red flag, the green flags, do not use them to judge them, to ask questions to see if it's a pattern. Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense as to why it's really beneficial for people to maybe get off, because we're in the digital world at the moment, and many people are meeting people online on dating apps through digital mechanisms. So it feels that there's a lot of value to getting off the dating app if you are serious about maybe taking this further with somebody, is to move that to an in-person meeting so that you can see some of the congruence between the body language, word choice, and all of that too, because I'm guessing the communication style in the digital world is so much different to how it is in person.
Yeah, definitely. Or even on Zoom if you can't meet in person.
Well, absolutely. Because
Yeah.
unlike me, if you see me on video, I'm disappearing in and out. So you probably can't read my body language too much because one moment I've got one arm and then I don't have one. But other than that, if you can take it to a video call, you're still going to be able to get some level of assessment into how everything is working together. Is it all in harmony? Is it not? So great. You got more for us?
Oh, I got so much.
Yeah.
I narrowed it down to the most things that it's not as common to talk about when we talk about body
Yes.
language and dating. I thought that would be more interesting. One of the other things is that is a plus when you're the one where you're dating with starts, they call that peacocking. Peacocking is showing yourself. And peacocking could be for a guy putting up his sleeve so you can see their muscles better, or sometimes it almost makes me think of the animal kingdom. Peacocking is showing yourself, showing more of your strength. For a lady, it could be like taking your hair and put it on one side of your neck so that the neck side reveals, and this is where pheromones, you have the smell again. When you show your neck, it shows a lot of vulnerability, so the other person knows that you are more into them. Or peacocking can also be just putting your hair better.
Okay.
There are different, so that's
Showing off more.
peacocking. Yeah.
Okay.
Peacocking basically means that you do things that you show yourself off, and that can be very subtitle. In again, like putting your hairs in the right way, or
And that's when you're on the date. So already you start to change the things that you were doing. So just showing more off. Okay. I like that one. Peacocking. New term.
Peacocking.
Peacocking. Exactly.
Yeah.
We're talking about the male peacock here, isn't it? The one who is all flamboyant. Yeah. Okay. Got that one.
Yeah. Well, we females can now also peacock. Yeah.
Yes.
And then one of the things is showing our neck, or some women go sit more straight. They show more their arms. Yeah.
Okay. I got that.
So what could be a red flag if you are in a date? It could be then when somebody starts to use barriers. Okay. Barriers is a thing like they gonna sometimes especially when you, like, for example, you go out on a dinner with somebody and you think you're doing well, and then eventually halfway the date they start putting things in front of them. The phone is a nice example. They put the phone in front of them, or they take the cup of coffee or the glass of wine and use their arm. This is also a barrier. So they use things, stuff, sometimes arms, to create something that makes them feel more distant from you. And that's not a good sign. Then you know somebody is withdrawing. Like in body language, there are only things two things people do. They go to something or they withdraw from something. That's kind of the basic thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you are happy, if you feel good, if somebody makes you flash your eyebrows, you tend to lean in, go to
Yeah.
somebody. If you feel uncomfortable, you tend to lean back and take things to create more distance.
Okay. So that could also be a barrier, for example, if somebody like turns their shoulder to you and maybe crosses their legs, or they're showing like they're kind of moving back as well.
Yes.
So that can be the lower half part of their body too.
Yeah, well, the most, and that was one of my red flags too,
Ah,
is I think, and that's one of the coolest things you can watch is look at the feet. The most unconscious part of our body is what our feet are doing. We are not
okay.
like and if we're talking, and you like all these tips, by the way, you can use it in every conversation, not only with dating. So if you're talking with somebody and they have their feet and that feet point to a door or they point away from you,
Yeah.
like the feet point to the place they want to go. So if you would look under the table and you were on a date or you were, I don't know, in a pub or a bar, if the feet are pointing to a door to somebody else, the chance is big that the person is preparing to go that way. So it's a big tell. Yeah.
Pay attention to the feet. Okay. And then also the change, isn't it? So the feet might be in one direction, like towards you very much, and then suddenly the feet is angled out.
Yes, yes, yeah. And I love the feed even in when you're talking with a group. So if you are in a group and you think somebody is very interesting and you're kind of doubting if the person likes you too, it's interesting to see what place the feet are pointing. So even when we're flirting without, even when we are in a group, engaging in a group, there will be one foot to the person that we're flirting with or who we like. So the feet are very cool. It shows you where your attention goes.
Okay. So if you start to see, because I'm just thinking about maybe a dating situation, because we're not always going to have access to the feet, because we might be at a restaurant or a table or something like that. But generally, if you start to see somebody's feet, that could be a sign that they are ready to go, or there is some sort of distance coming through. That's really,
Mm-hmm.
really powerful.
Well, you can see it on the even if you're dating and you're sitting on a table. A lot of the times when the feet move, you will see it in the posture too, in the
Yeah.
torso. Yeah.
I heard something, I think it was Paul C. Brunson, and he spoke recently about the direction of your belly button.
Ah,
So,
I love that. Yeah.
yeah. So, generally, if the direction of your belly button is like pointed towards you, then okay, they are towards you. But again, like you said, if things start to change and the direction of the belly button moves, I just said, if you've got an outie, you're going to give the game away because
Yeah.
you will see
Yeah.
it moving. But yeah, so that is, you can still see that from the upper torso too.
Mostly you do, but it's yeah, mostly you do. But it is, you can be more like it could be very small, like the feet, you can sit with your belly button to a person, but again, but also
Yeah.
point your feet at the door. So that's kind of the depending on where you are probably.
Yeah.
But maybe then just go to the toilet and then look if you can see the
And
feet, then
have,
go back.
have a look back and just see. That's another great tip. Just have a recess, have a time out, and then have a look and see where their feet is when you go.
Yes.
I'm absolutely loving these tips. Have you got more for us?
Well, I got many, but these were the tips that I wrote down. Let's see. Yeah, no, I think these are very nice.
Yeah.
One of the things that I like with the face reading, we that's something else than body language. That we like to look at features, and one of the in the Chinese face reading, I think this fits this podcast, is that if you have full lips or you have very thin lips, and full lips are more sensual, but very thin lips, they have a higher sex drive, because they have more problems in expressing their feelings, and so sex can be an outlet in expressing their feelings for somebody. And where people with full lips tend to be more expressive about their feelings, and have not that need, because they have other means to express themselves. So maybe it's something interesting to look at.
No, I know you
lips.
can go and you can plump your lips, but I don't know if you can diminish them. I
Ooh,
need
I
thinner
don't know.
lips. One sounds really painful. But this is so much wealth information that you're sharing with us here, that it gives us the opportunity to be able to assess ourselves, but then also to be able to read the other person and to read the rooms in, the way that you said. It's not a manipulative way. It just makes us more conscious of, communication and what is actually happening. There was something I also heard that I wanted to just to ask you. I listened to many podcasts. I was thinking of research. No, so I was listening to another podcast by, most people know him, Stephen Bartlett, and he has his podcast, The Diary of a CEO, and he was talking to a dating expert. She's a dating coach and also a behavioral expert. And she said that there could be some value behind not sitting in front of a person on a date. And if you sit beside them, the reason being, she's like, imagine being on a car journey. And some of the most quality, fun conversations we can have is when we are side by side from somebody, because it's less intense, there's less scrutiny. And I thought, wow, I've not really heard that before. So I wondered whether you saw value in that, or whether really having that eye contact is more important. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I think it's amazing that I'm totally on that page. So what, like a red flag could be if you put, how we call it again, if you put something between you, like we call it the telephone, but a table is also something you create distance with. So if you are sitting across to each other, we see this a lot with in business world, in conversations where somebody delivers bad news, sitting across, like you're sitting across each other. So even in a conversation, if I would go on a date, I would advise not to go and sit across each other, but sit in the angle. If that doesn't make you feel comfortable to sit next to each other, but sit in an angle. And then you also can move your body to the person, show much more open signals. There's much more connection. If I teach wherever I go, if I always ditch every table out of the room, just everybody open, because that makes people, and it's something we do unconsciously, but it gives our elephants the space to sniffle each other much better, and to see all the openness and feel the energy of the other. And so if I work with people, in a room, I always ditch everything so everybody's open. And of course, it also has to do with my teaching style and personality, but a lot of it also just this setup of openness creates so much faster. Again, that's what I like, depth in the conversation. It's so much faster going deep, and it's much more about feeling maybe between the lines than even reading between the lines. So I would, and yes, it's true. If you're sitting next to somebody, if you drive, or well, I'm old, so when we're young and we had to do dishes next to each other or stuff like that, that were the best conversations. And that's because then you it's also because it kind of eliminates a little bit the body language. So you are not that conscious about yourself anymore when you're really next to somebody. I think so. But so I would do the angle so you can be conscious about the body language.
I totally see that. I think we have a tendency to sit opposite each other. You go to a restaurant, you get seated, and it's opposite, and that can feel quite intense, especially on the first date too. That you are.
It's an interrogation.
look into my eyes, you know, and it can feel
Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
bit intense. So again, you know, another great tip would be to think about how you do position yourself when you are on your date, whether it's first date,
Very.
second date. And also, if you are already coupled up and in a relationship with somebody, think about your position. You know, maybe you don't have to have a table talk when you are right opposite each other. If you've got something to share, maybe sit on the couch or the sofa side by side so that you can actually create a space where it doesn't feel so intense. I would
Yeah.
say it feels a little bit more in
And
flow.
it's also if you sit across each other, there is no. It's like it can be intimate. It's
Mm.
not that it's not possible because there are more things that you need to be intimate. But if you are on a couch, like now, I'm sitting on a couch, and if you would sit there and I
Yeah,
would turn my body here with I don't know, a cup of coffee, glass of wine, it would be very intimate. It's very. It makes the conversation and the connection much more soft, more. Uh, um, it it helps you to get more into your body, staying in your body, staying in your presence, and instead of when you, it almost feels like a job interview when I think when you sit across each other. It doesn't have to be, but
mm.
I would I would definitely like if I teach business people, I teach them take to pick very carefully the place that they want to sit down. Even when you go into a restaurant, what place do you gonna give the other person?
Yes.
So how do you? If, and depends on what type you are. But if you are more the extrovert who wants to take the lead, it's smart. And you dating an introvert, it's smart to give them a place that they feel most comfortable because when they can relax, they can open up to you. So there is a lot of. Well, I think we can talk about this for
We could
hours.
do. I mean, it could be. I mean, I do have something I do want to ask you. It was a case of, let's say, for in terms of body language, and you feel yourself just getting a little bit heated, a little bit wild up, and you can feel yourself getting tense. What's one thing? What's one good thing that somebody could do in that time in order just to relax really and to come back into their body?
To help them,
Yeah, to
you
help them.
mean?
Because sometimes you might see, you know, you might feel yourself getting flustered, you might feel yourself getting hot and heated, and that will be communicated to the person that you're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to bring it back to that sense of calm. What would you say is a good thing that they could do? Is there a practice? Is it breathing, for example? Or is it actually just walking away from that situation?
Well, I think this is a big life hack to me. Is that using your hands? There are like now I'm online, so you can't really see it, but if you the belly button, we talked about this.
Yeah.
You got the belly button, everything around the belly button. We call it the truth zone. This is also the place in Chinese medicine they call it the hara. It's the middle point of your whole body. It's 10 centimeters behind your belly button, a little bit down. Yeah.
So precise.
Yeah, if you would put a pin in it, could turn around and around and around. But
Okay.
this is an energy center in your body where you create the most energy. So one of the things you could do for yourself if you feel uncomfortable in using your hands is just put your hands on your heart for a moment and just be very mindful about it. Another thing is that what I use is if I am nervous, I'm going to use my hands talking around my heart, around that belly button. We call this the truth zone. This is the truth zone of your body. And you even hear it now. So I start down with my voice gets deeper, it gets lower. I'm starting to talk slower. And if you use your hands here, it kind of signals to your brain everything is okay, everything is fine. Because our emotions have impact on our body language, but it's also the other way around. So if we adjust our body language, it signals to the elephant, hey, you're fine, you're okay. So just relax and enjoy this date. Yeah.
Okay. So it's a simple touch, is it? There's a simple touch of
You
it.
could touch, yeah, you could touch it. What if you want to step up? Like if you want to um, influence the elephant on a different way. You could, well, if you have to, like, if you're talking, you're not listening, you're talking, because you cannot only listen, then use your hands while talking and use it around your belly button,
Ooh, the
around that
energy.
aura.
Mm.
Yeah. But even like, could we try it for a moment?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. So I would like you, let's start in the passion zone. So we are on camera, so we end up in the passion zone very easily. This is,
Yes.
it's just this, it's a little bit lower than your breasts, and then all over wherever you can reach.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Could you tell me something you think is really cool about body language, and then use your hands around your passion zone?
Around here. Oh, sorry, do I
Yeah.
put my hand down?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
just talk with your hands. Talk
Okay,
with your
talk
hands.
around it. What I really love about body language is that you can see the power in somebody's eyes. Now, when you talk to them and you see their eyes light up and you know that they're fully engaged, it just really lights me up, because I know that they're listening. I know that I'm maybe inspiring them, or they feel inspired, and that we're going to go into some great deep conversation. How did I do?
Perfect. Thank you. And now could you do the same, and then just talk about what you think about body language, or maybe what is the, I don't know, what is your biggest insight, or do you like? But then use your hands only around your belly button, and then use them in a flowing way. So there's not like pam pam pam, but you just talk easily with your hands. Yes.
Mm. One of the biggest insights is to have a look at the position of somebody's feet. That's really a telltale sign as to where their thoughts are, to how they feel. And if their feet are pointed away from you or looks like they want to go, allow them to go. Call it a night.
Well, do you feel the
Oh, I'm doing.
difference?
I feel the
You're
difference.
doing amazing.
Yeah, oh, am I really?
Yeah.
No, I actually feel the difference, and I feel so calm in this spot right now, just moving. Oh, I can feel that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's like
Ooh.
this is my biggest life hack ever. So this
Oh,
is,
that's
you can use it
amazing.
when you are on stage. You can
Yeah.
use it when you go into a job interview. You have to practice a little, or call me and let me coach you a little bit through it, of course.
Oh,
But it just tells you are not tense now. So, but even when you're tense, it tells your brain, ooh, you could hear it in your voice. Your voice slowed down, your voice got deeper, and how deeper
yeah.
our voice gets.
Yep.
To men, by the way, if they, this is a life hack, this is a dating tip for men. If you lower your voice, we women love it, because it makes you feel very secure, like self secure. Is that a
Yeah,
word? Yeah.
yeah.
It's
Secured.
oh
Oh,
wow, he knows what he knows what's like, he can take care of me. He is safe. He is confident. Confident was what I'm looking for.
confident.
Yeah.
Lower the
Yeah.
voice.
Mm-hmm.
Question then. Does that work in the opposite effect for a woman? So therefore it will benefit a woman not to talk so deeply, and maybe to change the pitch of their voice. Does that make a man feel
Yeah,
less
well, depends on
competitive?
what man. Like, I think it depends on what man you like.
Okay. There's a little bit of practice going
No,
on
and a
here.
high, no, a high voice always is, and high voice shows stress. So it's not, you don't have to have a male voice. I
Yes.
can imagine if you talk like this,
Yeah.
that can be difficult. But then, yeah, you need to find a strong man who can deal with your power.
Yeah. Oh, that is a whole nother episode. We've got a lovely conversation on social media about that today. So I did a live on Instagram today about that topic. So fantastic. I love that hack. I absolutely love that hack. We're talking about love, and I always like to ask my guests as well, in terms of, what's your personal definition of love, Anke? What does love mean to you?
Oh my, yeah. I got this question on an email from you, and I thought, oh my. Yeah, I thought about that. And it's kind of, to me, it's also very, maybe because what I do, it's really hard to put it into words, because to me, love is a lot of feeling and showing, and
Yes.
less of talking. And then I was thinking about my I'm married for, no, I'm not married that long, for 7 years, and I'm together with my the father of my children and my husband for, I think, 19 years. So we married with the kids. They
Mm-hmm.
were and I think what makes our love, I think why it works is that I am not the same person as when 19 years ago. I'm not the same person he started dating 19 years ago, and he's not the same person either. Like every time that we walk out of the front door and go to a job or whatever, you get new experiences, and that will impact you, maybe small or little or big. And so to me, love is giving the other one space to grow and explore and see the world, but also come back and feel heard and safe, and gets the that just gets the freedom to be themselves. And I even thought about the word love, because I don't know if it's true, but to me, love is only a reflection of your self-love. So to me, love is also the that you help each other, or you give the other one the opportunity to learn how to love themselves first. So I think that's, I yeah, that
Yeah.
was a hard question. Like, again, I think 10 podcasts.
But you answered it
Yeah.
so beautifully, because there's
Oh,
no,
thank you.
yeah, there's absolutely no right or wrong. And what was jumping out to me was that whole creating space for growth and for evolution and for people to be exactly who they are, but then also, invite them into that space and to go on like a journey together throughout the years. I mean, you've been with your now husband for, did you say 19 years?
Yes, a long
19.
time. Yeah. And I hope for another 19
Well,
or more.
absolutely. Or more, exactly. That's it. Or more,
90,
or
90.
better. Exactly. And I would imagine, because when I'm talking to a lot of my clients as well, is that effective communication is key. And there's a lot of ineffective communication. So, everything that you have shared today, Anke, has been so good for people who are getting themselves set up for love, for people who are already in a coupled up relationship too. Everything that you shared can be applied in context as well. If you could even take this to your work, you now have your business zone, you now have your different zones on your face. You can really start to analyze the situation so much more. I've loved every single bit that you've shared with us. And it would be absolutely amazing if you could leave the listeners with at least one key takeaway to help them on their journey of love, life, and relationships.
Well, one of the tips that I really like is that you sometimes also have to be imperfect. So you have to be a little bit crooked. If you talk about love and you would talk about sexuality, like being sexy, um, um, we think things who are exciting are a little bit more sexy than when something is it's very predictable and straight. So if you go on a date, or you go on a date with your husband or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, or your girlfriend, a cool thing is to add to ditch a little bit of the symmetry. Like, it could be an off-shoulder
Mm-hmm.
non-body language, or maybe some women make a braid on one side
Yeah.
of their neck, or whatever you can imagine, in having a little bit, just not like the edgy, leave the perfection,
Mm.
because the edginess makes you more sexy than perfection. So I like the asymmetry
Oh,
in the whole thing.
oh. That is amazing. Now, that's a huge tip. Go and do your research as well as to what can give you that edginess, when it comes to that, because that is such a powerful share. And for anybody listening, if you are a man, it doesn't mean wearing odd socks. That might seem a bit different, but really go for that edginess. I love that. I've not heard that one before. So again, that's a great tip. Anke, oh, amazing, amazing discussion. Thank you so, so much for this. Where can people reach out to you, follow you, if they want to know more about your work or even connect with you?
Well, they can find me on social media, Facebook. You can find my name, Anke Lommen. Just Google it, or Google Anke Lommen face profiling, face reading. You will find me, body language. You can find me on Instagram and on my website. If you wanna talk with me, I would love to. So just send me an email, and we can figure out an online meeting. Or I think in 8 weeks we're gonna, like, at the moment I'm living in America, so in 8 weeks we're gonna travel back to the Netherlands. So that's gonna be more easy also for the people from Europe. So
Yeah,
I think that's
brilliant.
where you can find me.
Excellent. And I will drop your links in the show notes too, so people can
Thank
easily
you.
access that and reach out to you. Of course, I want to thank you again, Anke. It's been an amazing conversation. And for everybody who has listened to this wonderful conversation, I want to thank you for your time, attention, and your energy. And until the next episode, take great care of yourself and others too.